On a recent visit to San Francisco, I had the privilege of being invited by my dear friends Daniel and Scott to flagging in the park. First, a little gay history lesson for those who are unfamiliar with flagging. Flagging is a form of performance art with its roots in American gay culture during the 1970s. If you're familiar with color guard, the aspect of big flags waving in the air alongside musical accompaniment is similar, but pretty much everything else is very different. Flagging consists of rhythmic dancing while spinning brightly colored flags to music, and it's most often practiced in dance clubs or parks. It combines dance and visual art, with limitless variation in both flag designs and dances, making for a very striking display. The flagging community was very nearly wiped out during the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s, but it managed to survive thanks to the dedication of the gay community in preserving our history. Today, it's a thriving subculture of gay life, and flaggers can be found in almost any city with a gay community. It's even expanded outside the gay community, with flaggers from all walks of life the world over. Flagging in the Park, one of the best-known flagger gatherings, has been held at San Francisco's Golden Gate Park in the National AIDS Memorial Grove since 1997, and serves to uphold the memory of the members of our community who were lost to the AIDS epidemic. When I first walked into the Grove, I felt like an interloper despite being gay myself. This is the first time I'd really engaged with this community, so I was very aware of my status as a guest. I started by walking around the outskirts of the Grove, finding my angles and exploring the space. The Grove is a fairly small lawn in a low area of the park, surrounded by hills, dense trees, and trails leading to the rest of the park. This seclusion created a sense that this was a hidden, sacred space, despite being in the middle of one of the busiest parks in San Francisco. As I walked around, Dan and Scott introduced me to some of their fellow flaggers. They were all really friendly, kind people, and made me feel welcome. About an hour after we arrived, the organizers called an intermission to make some announcements. Then the director of the event, Xavier, gave a speech. He spoke about the significance of flagging in the park, about upholding the memory of those we've lost, and about bringing light into the world in the face of rising homophobia. I was left teary-eyed by his speech. The significance of the event to the flagging community was very clear to me. After the speech, flaggers filled the field, the sun peeked through the clouds, and the DJ started spinning dance tracks. The crowd was very invigorated, and the energy really started to pick up. At this point, I switched to shooting photos and really got into my creative flow. I was getting great shots, dipping in and out of the crowd, getting close and following the flaggers' movements. Through the crowd, a couple of flaggers caught my eye. They were dancing across from each other and had the biggest smiles on their faces. I slowly made my way towards them, giving myself time to figure out how to suppress my crippling social anxiety. And by the time I got there, one of them had disappeared. So I said hi to his partner, whose name was Tyler. His flagging partner was his husband, Gio, who had gone to get some water. I did a lap, snapping photos of other flaggers across the Grove, and came back to find Tyler and Gio flagging together. The depth of their connection was obvious. They were both beaming, playing off each other's movements, and just radiating positive, joyous energy. Witnessing their energy together was pure, unadulterated magic. It's the reason I go out to these kinds of events with my camera. After getting a good few shots, I said my goodbyes and continued making my rounds, enjoying the sun and music and uplifting energy, snapping pictures of the festivities and riding the high from winning yet another battle in my war against social anxiety. Later in the day, I saw Dan and Scott flagging together, and I felt compelled to capture some images of their shared energy. Dan and I became good friends in October of last year when we were both struggling with grief. He was grieving the end of an 8-year relationship, and I was grieving the loss of my husband, Tim. He and I supported each other through some really difficult moments, and he's become one of my dearest friends. Scott was Dan's introduction to the flagging community, his flagger daddy, if you will, and helped him through some very heavy times as well. Dan credits flagging with saving his life in a very real sense, and Scott played a major role in that journey. Seeing the energy between these two as they flagged together, I knew I was witnessing another deeply meaningful form of love, that of chosen family, the friendships built from supporting each other through hell and back. Leaving the event, I was exhausted but incredibly grateful to have stood in the epicenter of so much love and joy. Next day on my flight home to Chicago, I was importing and reviewing my images, and when I got to the photos of Gio and his husband, I felt a wave of grief hit me like a ton of bricks. The adoring look they shared was the same look that Tim and I had shared. I started tearing up. That was what stuck with me from that scene. A part of me recognized that depth of love because I'd experienced it myself, and I still carry it in my heart wherever I go. The saying goes, to be loved is to be changed, and loving someone and being loved so deeply changes you in a profound, intrinsic way. My love for Tim and his love for me transformed us into better versions of ourselves. We brought joy and light into each other's lives. The years Tim and I shared were the best years of my life. I believe my greatest works as a photographer will always be my portraits of Tim, because they reflect the depth of my adoration and love for him. Seeing Gio and Tyler's love and having the opportunity to memorialize it felt like an important step in my grief and healing, as painful as it was. It served as a reminder of what matters most to me, both as a creative and as a human. Photography in my mind is the art of recording these ephemeral moments, making them more permanent, preserving a window in time so you can come back and visit there again. I feel compelled to document these glimmers of deep, true, abiding love between men, because I know what it looks like, how it feels, how deeply it transforms you. The images I created in the Grove on that overcast San Francisco afternoon are immensely important to me, because they're a window into the love shared in that space, the memory of loves lost, and how we heal together from that grief. I may not be able to stop time, but at least I can capture these moments of deep, meaningful love and preserve them for the future. And in my journey of grief and healing, practicing that ability feels like pure magic. Thank you to my dear friends Dan Garcia and Scott Abel for inviting me to this event, to all the volunteers from Flagging in the Park for organizing it, and to Gio and Tyler for inspiring this story. If you want to learn more about flagging, I've put a few links in the description. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video or found it insightful, please share it with someone else you think might enjoy it. And subscribe if you want to see what else I'm working on. Thank you. Peace.